I practiced the sentence for 2 weeks in the Notes app, like I was rehearsing a speech instead of setting fire to a house I said I wanted to live in forever. What if, I typed, deleted, retyped, we invited Liam into our relationship? The version that felt least dangerous was dressed in therapy words. Ethical non-monogamy, triad, consent, transparency. The version that felt most honest was worse. I have been halfway in love with my guy best friend for years, and I want permission to stop pretending the line between us is imaginary. I waited for a night when the kitchen was clean, and the tone of the day was neutral. Tuesday. Nothing heavy attached to it. I made spaghetti because it means comfort, and because it takes 11 minutes, and because I wanted to control the small things while I unraveled the big. I poured him a glass of Montepulciano, and told myself this was intimacy, bringing a secret out where it could breathe. Hey, I said, plating pasta and using the cheerful voice I save for baristas and conflict avoidance. I've been thinking about something big. Can we have a grown-up talk? Kel took the fork I handed him, like he always does, like this house runs on the smooth passing of ordinary objects. Sure, he said. What's up? I thought about easing in. I thought about monogamy rates in academic journals and TikToks about polycules with chore charts. I thought about saying, this isn't about sex, even though part of it was. In the end, I just jumped. What if we asked Liam to join us? I said. Not like cheating. Not a secret. A triad. It could be, I don't know, expansive. We'd set rules. I'd never do anything without you knowing. He set his fork down. He didn't drop it, didn't slam anything, didn't sigh the way men in movies sigh when the audience needs a cue. He placed the fork beside his plate with that same infuriating, steady gentleness he uses for everything. Hanging a frame, tightening a hinge, thinking. Then he stood up, pushed in his chair, and walked to the key hook by the door. He took his keys. He put on his shoes. He didn't look for a jacket because he already had one on. He opened the door quietly, 2 fingers on the edge like he didn't want to make a noise that could be mistaken for drama, and stepped into the hall. I stared at his back the way you watch a miracle or a car crash. He closed the door behind him with the latch catching soft, almost kind. Not a word. For a full minute, I thought he'd gone to the elevator to breathe. When the text didn't come. Be right back or I need air. I called. Straight to voicemail, the recorded voice too bright. Then I texted, hey. Come back. Don't do the silent thing. I'm not trying to hurt you. Can we please talk? I didn't sleep. I cleaned the kitchen like penance. By midnight, I was sitting on the floor with my back against the cabinets, staring at his full plate of spaghetti, like it was a monument to something easy I had just declared insufficient. At 6:41 a.m., I received an email. Subject line, house and next steps. I read it 3 times because the tone felt like a weather report, and my body was a thunderstorm. I'm staying at a rental near the job site for a few weeks. I'll send the address when I get the keys. Please do not text for a few days. Email is okay if it's logistical. I'm not interested in opening our marriage or auditioning for a triad. That is not a conversation for me. We can meet Friday with a mediator to talk about money and the lease. I'll cover my half of July, after that we split based on use. I'll pick up clothes with a civil standby tonight at 7. You don't need to be there. I'll leave my ring on the dresser, so I don't misplace it. No accusations. No name calling. No paragraphs about what a cliché I am. Just decisions already in motion. At 6:47, a second email landed. Liam. Do not contact Liam on my behalf or to triangulate. I won't be speaking to him. This is a boundary between you and me. To be clear, I am leaving because of the ask, not because of Liam as a person. This is incompatibility, not a duel. I wanted to be mad at the word incompatibility. It felt like a dating app checkbox, insulting in its smallness. I wanted a speech I could fight with. He gave me a diagnosis I couldn't appeal. Liam texted me at 7:13 like he'd been holding his breath all night too. Are you okay? Did you tell him? I put my phone face down on the counter and laughed in a way that wasn't laughter. The two men in this story were being exactly who they had always been. Cal, steady, allergic to spectacle, already finding the administrative path through a disaster. Liam, available, immediate, a human accelerant. I typed he left. I deleted it. I typed, we need to not talk for a while. I deleted that too. I set the phone under a dish towel like hiding it could hide me from the version of myself who wanted to sprint toward the person who made my nervous system buzz. At exactly 7 p.m., there was a knock that wasn't a knock, 2 polite taps and then the shuffle of a door opening on a key. Hello, came a voice professional and bored. Civil standby. Cal walked in behind the officer with a duffel and a garment bag. He didn't step past the threshold until the officer had done his glance around. I stood in the kitchen wearing a stupid sweatshirt that said be kind and wanted to peel it off because irony is itchy. Bedroom? The officer asked. I nodded. Cal kept his eyes on the floor and moved like he was walking through someone else's house. I expected to chase him with apologies. Instead I stood still and watched him remove his life with methodical hands. 2 drawers, hangers, the toothbrush from the holder, the sliver of shaving soap in the tin he refuses to throw out until it's a memory. When he came back through the living room, he detoured to the key hook, held his ring for a second, and set it on the console table. Not on the hook. On the wood, like a period. The officer said, all set? Kalnudda. They left. The door clicked. The apartment felt the way rooms do after a party. Plates still out, confetti of words on the floor, the air humid with things that won't ever go back into their containers. I wrote him a letter I didn't send. I didn't mean Liam like a weapon. I meant Liam, like a truth I've been holding between my teeth. I thought naming it could save us from it. I wrote another. I did this because I was lonely and lazy and wanted a loophole big enough for desire and a marriage to both fit through. Then a third, please come home. I'll pick monogamy like a religion. I'll go to therapy. I'll delete the Notes app versions of me that behave like a lawyer for my impulses. On Friday, we met a mediator in a beige room with a ficus that should have been fake but wasn't, lopsided from too much fluorescent light. Cal sat with his hands folded and spoke in the same tone he uses with subcontractors who delivered the wrong tile. A tone that means we will fix this. I won't raise my voice. I won't budge on the spec. We're 2 years into a lease, he said. We can't keep paying double. She stays, I go. I don't want the couch or the TV. I'll take the tools. Split the deposit proportionally if there's damage when it ends. Joint account. Close it. Each of us keeps our own credit cards. No fault. No story outside this room. The mediator nodded, pleased by the easy case. She asked the question they always have to ask. Any chance of reconciliation? Cal didn't look at me when he answered. Not if reconciliation means sharing my wife, he said. Not if it means a world where love equals committee. I flinched. The line was too clean. The mediator wrote something down and slid us a pre-negotiated checklist like a laminated placemat at a diner. There is a version of this where I go nuclear on Liam, block him, paint him as a predator so I can save face. There is a version where I run to him, decide the universe rewards boldness, and try to turn chaos into a lifestyle brand. I did neither. I went home and sat in a metaphoric quiet time. I watched myself reach for my phone 100 times and put it down 97. The 3 times I didn't, I sent nothing. Friends started picking at the story, trying to get at the most gossipy parts. Did he yell? What did he say? Did Liam show up like in a movie? No, and God no. Cal's refusal to perform stole my best defenses. You can't cast a man as a tyrant for leaving without a line. He did email on Sunday though. Subject line. A clarification I owe you. I didn't leave because you're broken. I left because I am monogamous in a way that isn't theoretical. It lives in my body, not just a vow. I won't make you a villain to our friends. Please don't make me a prude to yours. We want different houses. That's all. I'll remove my name from the utilities Tuesday. Please transfer the Wi-Fi to your card by end of day so service doesn't lapse. Here's the link. That last line, the link, undid me more than the monogamy paragraph. He was still making sure I had internet while he was deleting himself from the bill. I laid my face on the kitchen table and sobbed until the grain pattern looked like a map. Liam did show up. Of course he did. On Wednesday he buzzed and stood in the hall with that half-smile that used to be my favorite trouble. "I know this is complicated," he said. "But you did it. We can stop pretending now." I looked at him the way a person looks at an old photograph of themselves in clothes they can't believe they wore. "Cal left because of the ask," I said. "Not to clear the way." I stepped into the hall and pulled the door until the latch almost caught. "I need to be alone enough to hear what my choices sound like without your voice in them." I closed the door gently and locked it. I slid down it and stayed on the floor until my legs tingled, proud and sick at the same time. Cal didn't ask me questions I could use to bruise him back. He didn't invite a post-mortem over coffee, where we could perform growth for each other like points on a balance sheet. He came by with movers on a Saturday, labeled 3 boxes with tidy handwriting, office, winter, tools, and left the keys in a plain envelope without a note. He nodded at me not unkindly and asked, "The litter box is your chore now?" Like roommates dividing labor, like the opposite of a tragedy. There's a narrative where the man wins because he punishes. He didn't. He won by respecting himself faster than I could argue. He won by choosing a life he can live in without a permanent brace. He won by treating the divorce logistics, we called it a legal separation, while the lawyers drew up the simple papers, like the project management he's excellent at, and our history like a delicate thing that doesn't belong in group chats. He won by declining my invitation to the kind of fight that leaves scorch marks other people have to sit on. Weeks later, I found the printed grocery list he'd left in a drawer, the one he used every Saturday morning for as long as we've lived here. Oat milk, eggs, spinach, coffee beans, cat litter, paper towels. It felt outrageous to cry over paper towels. But that's what I'd wanted to replace with fireworks. Paper towels that appear, a sink that drains, a man who fixes the hinge and asks for nothing in exchange except that I not try to turn our life into an experiment he never signed up for. If you need a moral, it's small and ugly and true. Asking to open a marriage is not clever if what you mean is, I want this person in particular, and I don't want to lose my safety net. Call it a triad, call it growth, call it modern. It was a lever I tried to wedge into the foundation so I could keep everything and change everything at once. Cal removed the lever and let the house settle where it would. He chose himself without turning me into an example. He took his keys, and the silence he left me with was better than the speech I thought I wanted. It was a mirror I couldn't dodge. I'm not with Liam. I'm not with anyone. I buy my own paper towels and carry them 3 blocks, and every time the roll runs out, I have to look myself in the eye and go get more like a person who understands maintenance is not a failure. I still romanticize intensity. I also keep the Wi-Fi paid on time. Cal texted once, weeks later, to ask if a package had been delivered there by mistake. I said yes. He wrote, "Leave it with the doorman, I'll swing by. Then hope you're okay." It wasn't an invitation. It was the last piece of evidence. Even at the end, he is kind. He doesn't have to contort that to fit around a third person. He deserves a love that fits as it is. He stood up, grabbed his keys, and left without a word. That's the sentence that sounds like cruelty until you live inside it long enough to hear the gentleness. He did not stay to teach me with pain what I refused to learn with common sense. He let the lesson be the quiet. I'm finally listening.